are back with us on Conquering Retirement. Once again, Brad Johansen with Northern Alliance Financial, CEO Lance Gilman, Blake King, CFP. Gentlemen, it is always a pleasure to sit and chat with the boys, making retirement a little bit easier.
That's it. 120 some odd shows.
I know where we are. You're at 124.
124 shows.
You're like,
but they're always great.
You know,
they're always
in the
fun.
beginning of the NFL, you're like one of the founding fathers within the TV program. At 124, there aren't a whole lot of people that have more shows than you.
It's great.
So congrats.
It's fun.
And thank you so much for being with us, because we know that you have kind of made this appointment TV, which is rare anymore. The idea for you is, you know what, let me turn on and see if I can learn a little bit of something that will make my retirement a little bit easier, because my goodness, nobody really teaches you how to do this. This is why we're here. And after 124 shows, you're still coming in and saying, thank you for making this easier to conquer retirement. I'll give you the phone number, 877-241-7430. Lance has put out another edition of Conquering Retirement to make it more simple. You can have this on your coffee table. You can also bring it into your first appointment at 877-241-7430. And in that first appointment, you can have the book. So I guess I did that wrong. You can't have the book before your first appointment. So come into the appointment, then get your book, and then we'll go through it. Yeah. Let's talk some fun stuff, like Paychecks. You've been into the paycheck business for a long time, maybe 40, 50 years, trying to figure this whole thing out. Now let's move into Paychecks and Playchecks. Take me through the concept of how this is changing as I accumulate and move from Paychecks to Playchecks, Lance.
Well, it's the idea that we're transitioning. We're moving from getting a paycheck on a regular basis and working full-time to all of a sudden not having to work full-time, and then establishing what would be our paycheck in retirement, which could involve your Social Security, a pension if you're lucky enough, and then what you've saved. All of that, we have to figure out a lot of things to determine what your paycheck in retirement needs to look like, because you still have expenses, both in and out of retirement. So we got to figure out how we're going to structure your pay going forward, because for some reason, and I think this is actually ridiculous, Brad, the employer that you're working for is not going to pay you if you stop work. I mean, how ingratitude. That's rude. How rude. Yeah. That is rude.
And yet we have to move on. So in doing this is this kind of laying out the foundation of the plan that you talk about all the time, Blake?
It's a very primary factor of the plan.
Okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
So when clients come in, they may have a budget. And if you don't, we've got tools and resources to help you to establish a budget so that you can identify what your paycheck needs to be. Because hopefully the paychecks that you receive through steady, predictable, reliable cash flows is going to meet your basic needs.
Okay.
But you're also a human being. You've got a life you want to live. You've got things you want to do. How do we create those those paychecks? And what's the consistency of those paychecks? What do you want those paychecks to look like? I had a client that came in and she was like, in retirement, I need a monthly budget of $300 a month for wine. And that was one of her things that she wanted to do.
Hold on, repeat that again.
She wanted to have a monthly budget of $300 for wine. She's a wine connoisseur.
Likes her wine. And I'm not going to drink cheap wine.
Right.
So if that's one of the things you like.
And I was actually pretty impressed that she took that into consideration. She's like, I've had this in my lifestyle for so long. Yeah. I want to continue this. And so the fact that she even had it in a budget, I commended her for it. I was like,
Did
thank
you say maybe our next meeting should be at your house?
Right, so I can try to sample a few of your wines.
Just to make sure that the budget's working right.
Right. Okay. And you're getting good quality wine.
Exactly.
So, but that's the concept between the two, is the paychecks pay for your basic needs. The paychecks is your discretionary spending. And how do you want to do that? Do you want to give gifts to your children? Do you want to make quilts for your loved ones? Like whatever that may be, that's up to you to decide.
Okay. So you're calculating basic living, and $300 may be part of basic living if that's part of what you're doing. breaking down monthly expenses. Look, for a lot of people, budget's a four-letter word. But in doing this, if we're going to do this right, dividing that basic and lifestyle columns actually probably can be more fun than you anticipate in trying to figure out, what do I really want my life to look like? Let's be honest. You guys have had clients come in and say, now I'm going to retire. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm just done working. And there is no purpose. There is no creation of Paychecks outside, which makes retirement very difficult. And we know, right, in dealing with a lot of people, when you just stop and say, I guess I'm done working, then life kind of seems to tick up on you, and we find people struggle to find their purpose. So creating this Paychecks to Paychecks actually becomes a life-giving source for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing too is one of the things that we're going to just talk about right out of the gate are what are the things that drive you? What are your goals in your retirement that you feel that if you do these things, that is success for you in retirement? And that's one of the great things about this particular profession, is that it's different for everybody. And it makes it so unique. And they're totally taken back by it when they come in, and the first question you ask them is, what are some of the things that you want to do in your retirement? What are the top things you want to do in your retirement? And they're not prepared for that. They're like, they thought they were going to come in and talk about budgets and all, okay, this is my stuff in my portfolio and all this. No, it's like, no. We're going to start with you. Mm-hmm. What does success look like to you? And what does our successful retirement look like to you? And how do we define that? Because everything else we do is going to be driven to achieve that success.
Income is the thing. So how often do you have, and people say, well, I don't want to do this. This is embarrassing for me. I haven't. How often do you have to make people feel, okay, I'm in that boat, don't know what their income is coming in for a monthly? Do you have more coming in than you have going out? Are there a lot of people coming in who honestly don't know what their budget is, what their income level is, and leading them into this Paychecks and Paychecks is like, maybe I should know what I actually have coming in, what I have to pay for, whether or not $300 of wine a month is going to be part. Is it constant? And a lot of people are in that same boat.
It depends, and that's how most things are in our industry, right?
Sometimes not everybody's the same.
Yeah, you have type A's and type B's, okay, right? The type A's are the structure. This is what we do. Then you have the type B's who live for the moment, right? Essentially. And so what I like to do is, if they don't really know what their cash flow is or what their budget is, a way for me to easily identify their lifestyle is, hey, what's your net paycheck? And they're like, oh, I can actually look up my net paycheck. It's this. I was like, okay, well, do you get paid biweekly or twice a month? And they're like, well, I get paid biweekly. I was like, okay, so here's what your net cash flow is coming in on an annual basis. Yeah. Do you see yourself pulling money out of your savings consistently to provide you additional help for your cash flows? They're like, no, we actually stock money away. Well, that's a baseline, right? Okay, you get paid a net $5,000 a month and you're stocking money away. Let's just plan for a budget of $5,000 a month. How does that sound for you? They're like, wait, plan for the same pay that I'm making right now in retirement? I was like, yeah, let's just see if the math works.
Because
like,
nobody wants to take a pay cut in retirement, right?
Yeah. And so that's just a simple baseline strategy that we do kind of on the spot. But for those who are more type A and itemize their cash flows and things, there's certain things where I can identify, like, hey, you're paying $300 a month on your Verizon wireless bill. Have you considered maybe adjusting your data plan in some regard? They're like, well, I mean, we've just done it and it's been on autopilot. I've never thought about it. Yep. I was like, okay, well, this is what my wife and I did. We actually lowered our payment from $270 a month to $150 a month just because we changed the structure. And they're like, oh, that's saving another $150 a month for wine, so stuff like that. So
Perfect.
Yeah, it's those types of things that we just have experience doing on a daily basis.
The other thing is that People think, okay, well, if you're going from 275 to 150, something like that, it's only $125. What's the big deal? It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
You don't think it's a big deal, but when you start looking at, introspectively looking at, and analytically saying, well, why am I spending $300 a month on this data plan when I really only need to spend $50 a month? Because I don't need all that data. I mean, my kids might have.
And actually, I do need another bottle of wine, so that extra 125
Whatever.
might turn me into that. We're going to get through it because I want to get to guaranteed income. You know, the things with Social Security and pensions and maybe annuities are playing a part in that. What is your guaranteed income? What are your paychecks? How do we create a foundation for guaranteed income that is going to last until your last breath so that we can work on the paychecks? 877-241-7430 is your complimentary written financial plan at the other end of that phone call. You've been waiting. I probably need to do something about this. And maybe I'm that person who hasn't put together a budget. I'm not really quite sure what I'm spending. And I'm not really quite sure what I want to spend it on. But maybe I want to think about that to see whether I can maximize this. How do we create a written plan that maximizes your retirement so that the stuff that you want to do is at hand because the plan's in place? 877-241-7430. A copy of the book. Second iteration. This is second edition, right?
Yes.
Second edition of
Second
Conquering
edition.
Retirement, folks. This is yours as you make the plan. 877-241-7430. Let's guarantee some income when we come back.
I found my way into financial advising a couple years ago. I graduated from Huston University in 2022, and then kind of wanted to find something that I could essentially make my own and help people out in the process. I've always been a numbers guy, and then just kind of trying to combine that with also just kind of the aspect of everybody's different. It's not the same thing every single day. You're dealing with different circumstances, different situations. So it kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit and kind of learning throughout the process with everything too. I would explain our client relationship as being very close. I've always been independent. Just having that aspect to have pretty much everything at your disposal, not being kind of tied to, you know, on the insurance side, one insurance company or just one investment. Being able to really help somebody with a whole bunch of different things. Because everybody is different. Everybody has, you know, what might work for somebody doesn't work for somebody else. So having all those options is tremendous.
Good to see Cameron. Cameron's been here before.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Cam, shout out to you, Cam, and the folks that you're working with. How's Cam been in the office? Because it was nice to see him down here doing shows.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot up in the Bangor Brewer office and then north because I think he was born in Holton. And so he's a county boy. And so what happens is when we've now started to branch into the northern part of Maine, we've been running some seminars. You've spoken up there.
Yeah, I speak up there in Presque Isle and Holton area and all
Nice.
that.
Yeah, and a lot of great turnout. We're also capturing some of the university market through the TIAA certifications that we all got last year. So so Cameron's really been pivotal in branching into that northern Bangor Brewer and then northern Maine area. So
The phone number's there, but website for people to find out where you guys are. And I know we've talked about on previous shows, you're amping up some social media stuff and some marketing. How do people find out about the places that you're speaking, the places that you're out speaking, the seminars that they have? Because I know that you've made this appointment TV because it's easy for you, but you go, you know what, I want to dive into something. There may be a seminar I want to attend. How do I find where that is?
So go ahead.
Oh, that's actually on our website. So Bella, our marketing coordinator, she's posted all of our
Website is?
nafinancialadvisors.com.
Okay.
nafinancialadvisors.com. And there's a tab that's just seminars, right? And so you go to the seminars tab and she actually uploads every single seminar that we have geographically throughout the state because we run multiple seminars throughout the state on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And so depending on where you live geographically, you'll get all of the date, time, location, and you can actually register for the seminar right there through our website.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have been listening to us on the radio. We've been on the radio now for, I don't know, 12, 14 plus years, watching our TV shows. They see us in the paper, and then they find out about a seminar. And that's great too, because it's actually a focused seminar. So it's either on Social Security, retirement planning, or asset preservation, estate planning. And they can go and hear and see us. They've heard us on the radio, they've seen us on the TV, and now we're live here. And so it's just another step. And we have, Brad, multiple people that have done that, where they've experienced all of those different environments, whether it's radio, TV, seminar, or all of the above.
Love it. All right. Again, website is?
NA Financial Advisors.
NAFinancialadvisors.com.
You got it.
Okay, so we're doing Paychecks, Playchecks. I talked about guaranteed income. Let's start about the guarantee of Social Security, because a lot of people don't feel like we have guarantee of Social Security anymore. The security of Social Security is insecure, and we're not so sure when it's going to end, because if you hear all of the talk, okay, it's going to end by 33 or 34. Or shoot, maybe it's technically it's insolvent right now, and yet most people are basing their retirement off Social Security. Take me through the guarantee of Social Security. Should I be worried at this point? How do I base that in my plan?
So we do need to be cognizant of the risks there. That's extremely important. But the thing that is really outside of our control is the legislation surrounding Social Security. You know, it's going to be up to our elected officials to be able to make changes to how Social Security is going to be used or funded throughout time. And so, unfortunately, they'll probably wait to the last minute to be able to make some changes to make sure that it is no longer insolvent, right? But from a planning aspect side of things, we need to be aware of that risk ahead. And if we do see a reduction in our Social Security payments, that's essentially, if we've done the correct planning, it shouldn't derail your entire retirement plan, right?
It should just be a piece.
It should just be a piece, right?
Okay. All right.
See, the other thing that I say with most people that bring up the 2033 is that they set thresholds. So the government sets thresholds on the amount of income that's taxed for Social Security purposes every year. And so what they do is they legislate, let's say the threshold is 175,000. We're going to stop taxing Social Security currently. They just keep upping that. If they up that from 175 to 250, Social Security is solvent for another 100 years.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll do. They just got to figure it out. So though I think it's prudent, going back to what Blake said, to be mindful of that fact, I don't see a huge risk that it's going to be completely insolvent by 2033.
That's part of your guaranteed money, pensions. And you guys see a lot of these within Maine, and yet the rest of America right now, we're down to about 12% of people still having the option of grandpa's retirement with pensions. If I do or if I don't, what's the difference now with my guaranteed money? And should I be strategizing before I decide to take lump sum or payments out of that, and work me into that?
Absolutely. So what you typically, when people come in, I would say probably 75% of the time, you had one individual who was just participating in Maine PERS and the other individual that was participating in Social Security. But under the Social Security Fairness Act that was recently passed, what they said is, hey, if you were in Maine PERS, you were going to receive a reduction in a Social Security benefit. But they've eliminated that altogether. So planning surrounding that has shifted altogether as well. And one of the big things that I ask couples who have access to Maine PERS is what's the most important thing for you surrounding this money? Do you want to make sure that you have a steady, predictable, reliable cash flow for as long as both of you live? Or, depending on your budgeting and resources available, do you want to take the max pension available? Because when you get that Maine PERS pension statement, you have the full benefit and then 8 other options. Well, they may not be going through that through their main PERS representative to identify each option and how that's actually going to affect their retirement. That's what we're here for, right? So I had a client come in just the other day. They're like, my biggest objective here is to make sure that, heaven forbid I pass away, my wife is still going to continue to get money. And I was like, perfect. We have the 100% survivor. You're going to receive $4,000 a month. Heaven forbid anything happens to you, your wife is going to receive $4,000 a month. But on the flip side, let's say your wife passes before you, you're actually now going to get a jump up in payment to your full benefit because that's how the pension system works. And they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I had that much security in my pension. It's like, yeah. They're like, so it's those types of conversations, just enlightening people on the different options to find out which option is most suitable based off of what you're trying to accomplish.
Can I throw this out there that there are many people who say, I just want the lump sum because I would like to invest it in my own way, because if I leave it to them and I'm getting a guaranteed income, but I pass, they get all the rest of that. Is there an option to that, and talking through whether or not that's something that makes sense for these people?
There is that option, absolutely. And it's all about conversations, right?
Because everybody's different.
Because everybody's different, yeah. And we also need to find out, there's this equation that we use internally. It's called the time value of money. And so if we find out, hey, if we were to lump sum this pension, here's the rate of return we need in the market to ensure that same cash flow. And if that rate of return is, say, 9, 10%, be like, hey, your pension's guaranteeing you a 9 to 10% rate of return. I can't guarantee that, but your pension can. Do you want to go that route, or do you want to take the freedom and flexibility to ensure that you are passing on a legacy to your loved ones?
I think the other thing too is that there are some people that may not qualify. They don't have enough years in the main PERS system to actually qualify for a pension, but then they've got money in there.
Right.
They don't know what to do with that. Well, it's not going to become a pension.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah.
So then we do need to move that money and get that working for you. The other thing that I've seen fairly recently has been blipping up is some of the Bluefin accounts that came from the Eastern Maine Medical Center or Northern Light. They used to be in pension programs, but then the administration decided that that wasn't in their best interest. So they dumped money into this Bluefin account, which was their previous pension account. And now some people didn't even know they had it. I've had clients come in and they're like, I don't know what this Bluefin thing is, but there's like, it says I have like $240,000 in it. And I said, is it in your name? And they're like, yep, it's in my name. I said, well, it's your money. And so then what we could do in that particular case, they took away your pension, but now we can structure something like a guaranteed fixed annuity with that money and create a personal pension with your own money, which will guarantee income for the rest of your life.
Right.
So that's another option.
And that's what you're looking for, is guaranteed income that's going to last into and through retirement. I got to take a quick break. Call the number on your screen. Scan the QR code, 877-241-7430. We'll finish this up when we come back.
As individuals, we strive for better. From a better house, to a better career, to a better life for our kids. But when it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? More income, a flexible lifestyle, better solutions. A better retirement always begins with a plan. To find out how to make your retirement plan better, give us a call. You only retire once. This is your opportunity to plan for better.
Hey, we're grateful for your time here on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansen with Lance Gilman, Blake King, and we're talking about paychecks to playchecks. It is making that shift, the continental divide. You've accumulated, you've gained your money, and now you want to keep it. You want to make sure that it lasts. So what does life look like after? Well, it is all about putting together a plan. 877-241-7430. Scan the QR code. This gives you an option to put something together, a written financial plan that costs you absolutely nothing. Even if you have somebody that has been helping you accumulate this money, there is a difference in the distribution phase and understanding, how do I want my life to look like after all of this work? How do we work into the paycheck mentality? Because you even said to me, sometimes it's hard for us to get our clients to spend their money. You have amassed this money.
Right.
Please go spend it, because that's been the lifestyle. I don't want to run out. I live beneath my means. I don't want to run out. Putting together a plan kind of gives you a permission for a Paycheck to say, really? If I spend this, I can actually still be okay? That's part of this Paycheck theory. Give me an idea of how that plays into working. Okay, I'm working an income plan. I'm giving you your guaranteed income. But can we plan for this? You've said it before. We had a client whose number one goal was to go to Alaska. Working this in sometimes give you permission to live a life that you never thought you could live.
I think the Paychecks aspect of our profession is probably the most rewarding, right? Because the paychecks, that's basic necessities. The Paychecks is quality of life. And so I was speaking with a couple earlier this year, and his big goal is, I want a restored antique car. And so we updated the income plan because they were subject to the windfall elimination provisions. They're no longer subject to it. They've amassed a sizable portfolio, and they live very well within their means. And sometimes I kind of get between the husband and the wife as to what they're wanting to accomplish. And it's fun, it's jokingly, it's fun, because he's like, oh, so you're saying that I can actually get that antique hot rod? I was like, yeah, you can. And then the wife is like, no, you can't. So it's fun to be able to do those types of things, because from a mathematical standpoint, they absolutely can. But it's kind of like, it's the dynamic between the couple as to whether or not they actually feel like that's being a good steward of their money. But being able to provide people a quality of life that they have been used to, or an improved quality of life, is where I find the most excitement out of what I do. Because every time a client comes in, I'm like, hey, how are things going? And they're like, oh, it's great. That's a big reward for me, just knowing that they're living the life they want.
And the idea, we said at the beginning of the program, you don't want to take a pay cut in retirement. Let's work from paychecks to Paychecks so that it looks like the retirement of your dreams. 877-241-7430. The book is complimentary as you come in. So is the written financial plan. Reach out for some help to make the retirement of your dreams a reality. Let's play a little. 877-241-7430. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait to see you in the office. Back here next time on Conquering Retirement.